J.R.R. Tolkien is a master evangelist. His writings have struck the hearts of many people around the world. They have been touched by his vision, his clarity, his purpose, and the way his imagination captivates human experience and the longing for God. J.R.R. Tolkien had a real way of expressing deeply the truth of man as being homo viator, the man who journeys. And where does that journey take place? It happens on the Camino de Esperanza. This really means that the journey itself is a journey of hope, and through trial and suffering there is a hope that animates the quest. And so we're going to go on our own journey. We're going to head out to the Ribble Valley, where Tolkien himself walked many of his journeys, followed many trails and many hidden paths, and this is really what captivated his soul and helped him to write many of his stories that we're so familiar with.
We've just taken the train for an hour outside of Manchester, beautiful rolling hills spreading out across the horizon. It's fantastic to think about Tolkien walking around upon the trails and really witnessing the beauty of creation. I'm reminded this morning when I was reading the Saxon Gospels of the call of God to Abraham to go out on a journey of obedience from darkness and spiritual agony into the light of a vision. And I'm going to read to you that passage now. God valde till fandian Abrahames jehersumnese, and klippade his naman, go forth and hej till landes visiones. God wanted to test Abraham's obedience, so he called him by his name. Go forth to the land of vision that I will show you. Go quickly. And so it is in that spirit that we enter onto this pilgrimage now, walking around the places that really spoke to Tolkien's heart.
Along the pilgrimage of life, we can often encounter the cross. The cross is a place of suffering. It's the place where Christ overcomes all the evil in the world through his own agony. It's a place of pain where even the presence of God seems far. Tolkien experienced these things very deeply, and we see this in all the characters that he created. Those on the side of good must be purged from evil through suffering. Frodo, Aragorn, Gandalf, they all encounter evil, and it hurts them, it marks them. And there's great consolation to be found in the illumination that Tolkien finds in his characters, that this suffering is not without meaning. It's a suffering that brings about great good and great hope. And I think when we find the cross in our lives, we can find great consolation in Tolkien's heart.
Here at the water's edge, I'm reminded of two fantastic stories that Tolkien told. He told a story of the elves and how they were going west out of Middle-earth, and we sense their decay and the mystery of their passing, and in many ways, seeing the fading decays of England, we are reminded of the many beautiful buildings that adorned this land before the Reformation, the monasteries, the cathedrals, and how a liturgy of praise erupted from under their many roofs and steeples to praise the Creator. And here at the water's edge we remember the joy of many of the characters that Tolkien brought into being. For example, Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, who was called the River Daughter. She was a serene and beautiful figure that Tom Bombadil encountered in his many journeys gallivanting around the forest, and he fell in love with her, and every day he would bring her water lilies out of devotion. And in many ways this beautiful image of their love is a great testament to Tolkien's understanding of vocation, and the call of every human being to follow God on a pathway of joy, hope, and love. And I always think when I'm by the river's edge of Tom sensing and seeing the beauty of Goldberry, falling in love, and their happy wedding, as Tolkien described it, a merry day indeed. It's wonderful to have a day's walk along the trail, Tolkien's own trail, where he walked the many paths around this beautiful region. Just here at the stream we see a wonderful example of the imaginative landscape that really must have sparked many of the thoughts that came into Tolkien's mind. Perhaps we can see Glorfindel calling down the waters upon the ringwraiths, or just the mere Shire folk making their way out of the Shire, out into the mystery of adventure. The late Tolkien scholar Stratford Caldecott always meditated on the power of beauty to transform and heal human lives, and artists of every generation have been drawn to reflect on the fading beauties of their land. None more so than Tolkien, who in Rivendell and Lothlorien could capture the decaying past of the English tradition.
We've just stopped off at the Shireburn Arms, which is a pub just opposite Stonyhurst College, where Tolkien sent his two sons, just enjoying a nice meal, and it's a good place to reflect on the hobbits, and where they started out in the Shire was a place of comfort and relative peace, and there was a great disturbance really amidst all that peace when Gandalf the Wizard came and called Frodo out on his adventure. And I think adventure is a really good way to think about Catholic vocation, the call that every Catholic has to take up the cross of Christ in their life and go on a great journey outside of the self. So it's a great way to end our journey here at the Shireburn Arms.
We've stopped along the trail to be in the presence of Our Lady, the Blessed Mother of God, who Tolkien was so deeply devoted to. Often in his writings he would translate the Catholic prayers into the Elvish tongue, the tongue he had invented within Middle-earth to represent the elves, a liturgical creation of his, to a continual praise of Elbereth, a queen of the heavens. When Tolkien was talking about Our Lady in the Elven language, he wrote the following words: Aya Maria Quento Eruano. This is the Elven Quenya language for Hail Mary, full of grace. And it's good just to meditate upon Our Lady's presence in the journey of every human being. Always along the way she encourages us to continue to search for Christ in our lives and never to give up, even if the suffering is really quite bad.
We've come here to the hidden gem in Manchester, here in the centre of the city. It's a great way to end our journey as we went out onto the trails that Tolkien himself walked to see the beauty of the creation and the beauty of the Creator. It's wonderful now to rest in the presence of Christ himself in the Blessed Sacrament, as Tolkien did so faithfully many of the days of his life. He was so devoted to come and see Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament and speak to him tenderly in his heart. What a great place to find comfort and consolation along the journey and adventure of life itself. And for Tolkien, who suffered so much and had so much cause for despair, he always found hope in the presence of Christ himself, hidden in the Eucharist. And I want to finish our journey really by reflecting on what Tolkien said about the Blessed Sacrament. He said, "Out of the darkness of my life, so much frustrated, I put before you the one great thing to love upon the earth, the Blessed Sacrament." Why? Because there you will find fidelity, honor, glory, romance. And more than this, you will find death, the divine paradox, that which brings life and gives eternal endurance to all human love upon the earth.